Welcome or welcome back. My name is Yu Wing, and you can call me You Win or Win. And I'm happy that we're together whenever and wherever you are tuning in. And so, this video is a video in my 90-day uh, challenge series to speak my truth and share my story. And so, if this is something that you've been working on, something that you've been hoping to take strides towards, or um, you've been asking for a sign, here's a sign. I hope you receive it as a sign. I hope it's confirmation for you to take that next step, to do it scared, to do it messy, to do it imperfectly, whatever um, will be helpful for you to share your voice. I like to start each one of these videos sharing a practice, and this is something that I've been doing this week. And essentially, there's two parts to us. Um, the practice itself is to say to myself or to say out loud, I deserve blank, and I attract that same blank. So, for example, I deserve love and I attract love. And this comes about from listening to my Louise Hay video on prosperity and really understanding that whatever I believe, whatever um, habits I have around my energy impacts what I'm experiencing on the daily in the moments in my life. And so I think this is why manifesting for manifesting is something that I've never jived with, um, because it misses the point of like having to transform your internal world, having to transform your, the garden of your mind. And so until you do that, I think it makes it really tricky and challenging, and me have negative consequences in terms of like, well, I've been doing what they say and things aren't coming my way. So I am really just trying to focus my thoughts and my attention so that I can have better conditions in my mind and in my consciousness, for whatever is on its way and forever for who I am becoming. So that's the practice. Um, I deserve reciprocal relationships and I attract reciprocal relationships. This could also be I'm worthy of insert something. I welcome, some version of understanding that you are someone who is capable and able to have those things, and that you're attracting it by shifting your energy and focusing on the thing you want. Um, so it helps to remind me to do that. And if it can be something for you, or if you want to take it and edit it to fit your life, feel free to do so. So, as we get into my last week of videos, I was thinking of today. Today's been a kind of wild day. Um, and I'm grateful for the resources I had to be able to get through it, including a dear friend and, sort of listening to my intuition and showing up to ask for help. So that was really good. And I don't know, I've been sitting with some questions and ideas. I'm sorry about my background. I don't know. I can't make it go away. So it's just gonna keep coming in and out. Um, I was listening to his video and it was sharing some Jungian of the Carl Jung um, house. And I guess it was talking about like, well, the first video I watched, and I'll go ahead and link that, but it's talking about what do you do when you feel like you have no one? So that was really interesting because the other night I was sharing that I was feeling lonely. And so it coincided with that. And I felt like I wasn't as alone watching that video, listening to that video. And then um, a little bit later, I was watching a different video that was talking about these seven psychological stages to go through in order to have a comeback. I'm sure the language has been changed because of AI and whatnot, but um, the seven stages were really interesting. So I was thinking, like, a lot of the things that I'm going through right now, even though I haven't been able to really fit it into something, it was hot girl era when I first started, and then it felt like, transformation, and, it was felt like I was changing timelines. And so I think there are probably specific steps, to get actually to the next place. And so one of the things that struck me about the second video um, was just this idea that, you know, you can feel that something's going to change. You can feel like there's a door, but you can't see it, which has been something that I've been feeling for quite some time now. And so I appreciated then that that resonated, and then kind of talking about the seven steps. And so I'll just, share them really briefly. I'm still trying to make sense of them myself. But at least if I mention them here, and if you want to check out the video, if it resonates, then, gives you some space for that. So they list the seven stages as a part of Carl Jung's powerful framework behind what they call the comeback that begins before you see the results. And the seven deep psychological stages include awakening of the unconscious, which is one. Second is the dissolution of the old self. The third one is shadow integration. The fourth is inner restructuring. The fifth is withdrawal. The sixth is synchronicity. And then the seventh is the tipping point. Um, and so I don't know if they're linear. Maybe you have to go through one to get to the next. Um, but it was really interesting to hear, these ideas around like in order to not be controlled by the unconscious, we have to be willing to acknowledge and shed light on the things that we have deemed bad, the things that we've been ashamed of, the aspects of ourself or the shadow, right? And so, I mean, I know it's hard because it's uncomfortable, and I'm, been sharing my story about how these things are so falling and can't get up. Um, and so, like awakening to that and being willing to like allow the old self kind of like, I'm going to surrender it. It's not working anymore. It's not fitting. And I don't remember if it was this video or the first video, but it was talking about space. It was talking about like you feel like the space you're in can't contain you and who you're becoming anymore. And I was like, oh, that really resonates with me. And I had a conversation with someone yesterday, and he had somebody ask him, like, the container that you're in, is it big enough to house the plans that you have or who you feel like you're becoming? And the person I was talking to was like, no, it's not. So then the person was like, well, then you need to do something about that. And I was like, because one of the things, and I know too, this is like a part of awakening of the unconscious is like being triggered by other people. I think they were speaking about how you're annoyed or frustrated or mad at that person because of what they reflect in you. And so, one of the things that I have thought about is space. And I've thought about how, um, this is just my perception. This is, that's the whole thing about sharing your story is it's like one person's perspective and it's not real reality, whatever real reality is, because isn't my experience, my projections based on my thoughts and my beliefs and my experiences and the data that I have. And you and I can go through the same thing and have a completely different experience because of our internal world and our internal makeup, right? Anyhow, so I was realizing that I was like, I don't remember what the feeling was. Was I annoyed? Was I like perturbed? I don't know. Some form of aversion. But I was like, oh, my twin seems to have like my sense was that if he was a tree and he was in a potted, he was potted, right? In a pot. Um, it seemed like in order for him to grow into his potential and into, like who he is meant to be, that it would be really good for him to be planted like in the earth so his roots could like grow and expand, right? And then when they physically sort of moved into a new space, it felt like he was potted in, he was put into a smaller pot. And I don't know if it was like also sad, like, oh, he had this pot and now it's smaller. Um, just imagine like I'm stumbling and trying to like move through this space. But then I was like, oh, for myself, where I was probably perturbed and annoyed because it reflects for me where I feel like I'm at and really resonating with the idea that I don't know if I have enough space to grow into who I'm becoming or who I'm meant to be. And so I'm sitting with that and these videos, I enjoy listening to them because I enjoy having these thoughts so that I don't have to bother someone thinking about these things if they don't have the capacity or the space. But there we go back to me speaking my truth, um, and being able to express myself in relationship. So, one of the other things that I wanted to share today, I like questions. It's like a big part of who I am. Ask my Rise and Thrive. She will tell you. Most people, particularly from college, probably know me as somebody who had an interesting question to ask and pose. Um, but I've been sitting with some questions that I want to answer or I want to share with others. So I'll start here. So you're the first one, other than this post it note, to hear these questions. Okay, first, what truths have you been postponing? So, what are things that you know to be true that you just haven't wanted to acknowledge or you weren't ready to? What truths have you been postponing? Second question, what has your heart been pretending it's not feeling when in fact it has been? So, what has your heart been hiding, even though it's been actually feeling it? And then the third question I have on this post it is, what have you been lying to yourself about? I was like, I know. I mean, a good question, right? Somebody, um, I was trying to do this course on having an extraordinary life. And one of the things they said is that in order to have in order to come up with better answers, you need to ask better questions, even of yourself, right? So if you're trying to like figure out what changes you need to make in your life, or whatever, like you need to ask yourself questions that will help you come up with better answers, right? And the example that they gave was, what do we want to commit to doing to improving our relationship for, a couple? And then they're trying to come up with a better question, asking the audience. And, one of the things that somebody really liked was, um, what can you do to fall in love with each other over and over again? Right. So it was sort of getting at something similar, but being asked very differently and sort of tapping into like different parts of the people, right? And so the answers that they came up with were very different than like, what can you commit to working on to being a better couple, you know? So sometimes I'm very curious when I hear different questions or, things come up and I'm like, hmm, I have to write it down or I have to like ask someone. And so I figure if I share them, I should try to share an answer myself. What truths have I been postponing? I think this idea that no one's coming to save me. I think all of the kind of experiences that I had in my lifetime were leading me to believe that I needed somebody to notice how I was feeling, or I needed someone to help me, or um, it was all external. And so, sort of having that realization last week that there's a part of me that's been waiting. And because I've been waiting, nothing has been happening. So, I think that's an important truth that I need to stop, pause, and sort of rework. What has my heart been pretending not to feel? What has my heart been hiding? Um, I think my heart has been hiding. Um, is it hiding? Pretending not to feel? I mean, more so than being honest about, um, is the desire or longing to be in connection or in relationship, um, with someone that includes like romantic feelings and um, emotional openness and mental awareness and spiritual curiosity, like in all of the realms that don't have to be um, not tiptoed, but like unavail. Like it's like I don't. Well, I don't want to focus on what I don't want. Um, I want to be in a romantic relationship with someone who's available in like all dimensions and all aspects. And um, I've been probably feeling like it wasn't possible. So I was like, well, let's just shut it down. Because why? What's the point? What's the point of thinking about it or feeling it when, So I have to, and I want to sort of step back and allow space for the reality. And then what have you been lying to yourself about? What have I been lying to myself about? Maybe I've been lying to myself that even if there isn't a point, I still need to express myself. So, like, I have convinced myself for my life that um, because the people who I grew up with were incapable of uh, holding my emotions or my needs or my wants, I convinced myself that it didn't matter, that my emotions didn't matter, my feelings, my needs and wants didn't matter, but they do. They do. So there you have it, me trying to answer these tough questions. All right, I am going to get going here. I wish I had something more heartfelt to share. I'm a little exhausted from the day's events and things. So um, just know that I am grateful for you being here and witnessing. And I will hopefully be able to record a video tomorrow. I just realized that I need to um, plan accordingly. So, with that being said, please take good care of yourself and we will connect again if we are meant to. Okay, bye bye.